Oh, disclaimer. I'm not gonna really fact check this video. Like, there's no sources in the description. It's just kind of me messing around. It's not really a scientific video. Uh, don't take it too seriously, because I'm gonna say a lot of wrong things. This is just me having fun. All right, back to the video. I'm not gonna talk about my opinions on AI development and the controversy surrounding stuff like that. We're just gonna answer a bunch of questions from this set of quote unquote really hard questions. I'm not gonna really talk about like the ethics of this stuff. I just want to have fun and goof around with some of the questions. Like most of the questions here have no context. You just have to read the question and make guesses. Unless you're a professional in the field that the question is talking about, then don't expect to get any of these questions right. You can see the answers on this side that indicate, which one is the right one. These are the choices, the questions. I'm gonna cover the answers on my screen with my hand, so I'm not cheating. I hope that works. I'm gonna cover it for the video and editing, so you have to guess along with me as well. All these are math questions. I'm not good at math. I guess astronomy would be good. Question number 1. What is true for a type 1A supernova? I have no clue. Let's see what the answer choices give. Type 1A supernova. I don't think it's B. Is because do supernovas even happen in young... Okay, obviously they do happen in young galaxies, right? To my knowledge, a supernova really only requires like a massive amount of mass concentrated in like a star. So it could be a young one, it could be an old galaxy. I don't think it's B. Occurs in binary systems. So there's 2 stars and one explodes. It's really specific though. I don't think it's A either. It's either C or D. I think it's D. Answer is A. Binary systems? Wow, that's weird. Alright, next one. If you know both the actual brightness of an object and its apparent brightness from your location, then with no other information you can estimate... I think Vsauce made a video on this. If you know its actual brightness, don't you already know like its actual distance from the object to you? I don't think it's A. I don't think it's A. It doesn't sound right. I don't think it's the composition either. Doesn't composition require other sets of data? Like, I don't think so either. Yeah, it's D. Oh, it's D. I actually just read D. D. Yeah, D. We got it. Nice. Why is the sky blue? Okay, let's see if this basic question I can answer. I feel like school has taught us this at one point in our lives. If not, then I've probably seen it in a YouTube video. Is it because like the sky, the composition of the sky absorbs all wavelengths of light except blue light? That's why it reflects out. The sky reflects the color of the Earth's oceans. That's definitely not right. It's blue in places that aren't oceans, so because the atmosphere preferentially scatters short wavelengths. I don't know about that. I don't know about wavelengths of light. This is why like general knowledge when it comes to science is really helpful in these types of questions. The Earth's atmosphere preferentially absorbs all other colors. I think it's D. It's C? I guess this is a more specific and scientific answer to this question. Now, I know it now, okay? I will never make the same mistake again. The so-called dark energy is a model to explain... What? No, I don't think so. I think that's Hawking radiation. Mass distribution of galaxies. Well, I know dark energy is this thing that just does not interact with light. Does it even interact with anything except itself? I don't get it. Like, what's going on there? I don't think it's D, because my understanding of dark energy does not relate to microwave background universe. This dark energy somehow affect the way matter moves across space and time. Is that how it works? I think the most safe option is B, because it's really specific and it kind of aligns with what I'm leaning towards here. So I'm gonna pick B. Let's see the answer. It's C. What? These answers are throwing me off the loop. Next one. What are the seasons in Mars's southern hemisphere? So extreme. It has a more eccentric. I can't even say that word. Eccentric orbit than the Earth. Mars's axis is more tilted than the Earth. Huh. When they say extreme, do they mean like it rapidly changes all the time? Is that what it means? When I think of extreme, I just think of it as like, oh, if you go there, you'll die immediately. I think D is the safest option, because when you talk about seasons, even on Earth, you're always talking about the Earth's axis. So let's see the answer. It's C again. You know, I'm doing worse than if I was just guessing the answers. I would have like a 1 in 4 chance of getting it right. Jupiter and the other Jovian planets are sometimes called gas giants. In what sense is this a term misleading? Gas giants. Is it because they're just not big all the time? Like, they don't have to be big? Wait, is that true? Are most big planets gas giants? Like, as in they contain a large concentration of gas? Whereas if you were a large planet that was not gas, it was completely solid, would that collapse itself into like a star? Is that how it works? They actually contain a significant fraction of non-gaseous matter. Sure, the core is always solid, right? Because the amount of pressure pressing on the gas, quote-unquote gas, collapses itself into a solid, so true. But I'm thinking we call it a gas giant because it's literally that. It's a massive ball of gas. Or are they saying it's misleading because most of the matter in that planet is not actually in the form of gas? Is that what they're getting at? They're so contradictory. So I'm not sure which one is right. I don't think... Okay, plasma, I've never heard that planets could consist primarily of plasma. So I don't think it's... I don't like any of these answers. None of these answers, like, vibe with me at all. I'm not sure what to choose. Do I have to go with B? I don't really like B. It would make sense. A lot of the gas that exists on the surface of, or quote-unquote, surface of the planet probably doesn't make up a significant amount, because density and all, right? You can compress... Well, not compress. You can, like, fit more mass in, like, a solid state than, say, gaseous state. So I don't think it's that either. I'm gonna go with B, so let's look at the answer. B, let's go! I got one right. Why am I so excited? Life on Earth originated from... We don't know for sure. I think that's the best answer to give. Panspermia. Melody Sheep made a good video on that. Check it out. Comments. Yeah, like, I would agree with all of these answers. I think all of these answers are good. But we just don't know for sure, right? There is too much possibility. So with A, it's obviously A. Yeah, it's A. That's a pretty easy one. How does the greenhouse effect work? Should have paid attention in geography class. What do I know of it? I guess just the release of certain gases that trap heat in the atmosphere of Earth, I guess. Greenhouse gases, they really emphasize on the fact that, you know, absorb is the key word here. Absorb this. How does it have to do with the ozone? I thought the ozone was like a completely different thing. Well, it's related in some way, but not that big of a factor in the greenhouse effect. It's not just visible light though, no? It's like most light that is released from the sun that, you know, ends up on Earth, but then absorb infrared light from Earth, trapping the heat near the surface. And this is a hard one. Like, this, I genuinely don't know much about this. Let's rule out C and D. And let's look at B, I guess. B seems like... But the word transmit, is that the right word to use for this? It doesn't seem right. It's so hard. What the hell? Okay, we have to make a decision before this takes too long. I'm gonna go with B. Alright, let's see the answer. Yay, it was B. That's nice. That's a weird use of transmit. You would think of the word transmit as in, like, you know, radio transmission, but I guess transmit in this context means reflect. So let's stop doing astronomy questions. I'm not good at those. Business ethics. This is such a weird topic. Alright, click into it. Okay, let's see. First one. Blank, such as Bitcoin, are becoming increasingly mainstream and have a whole host of associated ethical implications. For example, they are blank and more blank. However, they have also been used to engage in blank. Okay, I'm assuming this backside means illegal activities or something. Okay, let's see then. Financial crime, sure, that works. Charitable giving, really? Okay, I don't think it's B, because if you're using these cryptocurrencies as like a quote unquote gift, because the whole point of cryptocurrencies was like verification and anonymity, right? That's how I see it. So why would you do charitable donations under like an anonymous channel? So I don't think it's B either. So okay, it's either A or C. Let's see the first one. Is cryptocurrencies like the whole structure of cryptocurrencies like a really expensive thing to run? I don't know. I know it involves a lot of computers and a lot of energy, so it could be expensive. They are expensive and more secure. I guess it's A. The answer is A, I guess. I'm choosing A. Let's look at the answer. C! They're cheap? What? Damn, that's not what I was expecting. Alright. I guess we just trust it blindly. Alright, let's look at the other ones. Blank, where for example one party possesses more resources. Unfair distribution of blank, where one party gains more from the relationship. And CSOs? What was that? That was that. Being blank are all limitations and risks of business CSO collaborations. I have no idea what that is. I have to make assumptions, I guess. Like power dynamics? Is that what it's getting at here? Like hierarchy of power or structure of companies where for one party possesses more resources. Oh, monopolies. That's what it means. Monopolies. Distribution of products, services, where one party gains more from the relationship and CSOs being profits, I guess. I don't know. Where one party gains more from the relationship. Unrestricted, unregulated, is that what it means? Alright, let's look at the answer choices. Power imbalance. There we go. Informational asymmetries. That's a really weird way of describing power dynamics. I don't think, power and resources necessarily mean, quote unquote, informational asymmetries. I don't think that's right. So, okay, let's rule out C and D. I don't think it's benefits. I think it's B. But let's see the other one. And CSOs being co-opted. Cooperatively opted in. Cooperatively agreed upon. Is that what it means? Hoodwinked. I don't even know what that means. I think that's the name of a movie. You know that really one bad animation movie that everyone loves, including me? I think it's B, but let's see what the answer is. Yeah, the answer is B. What even is this word? What does this word mean? Editor, put up the meaning of hoodwinked on the screen. Alright, next question. What is the enlightened self-interest model of CSR? That it is in an organization's own best interest to put itself first rather than in its ethics. Right, that's just like most corporations, right? I can't even say this, that it is in an organization's best interest to consider what a shareholder would want. Makes sense, right? Both of them make sense. That's just how capitalism works. That it is in an organization's own best interest to act in an ethical way. Well, I guess it kind of depends. Like, if you're only considering for profit, it kind of makes sense that you would want to consider ethical practices, right? Your public relations to the public matter as well, right? If you have a bad reputation for, I don't know, doing bad stuff, you're gonna go down and under. So that makes sense. Okay, all these are valid answers, but what does it mean to be an enlightened self-interest model? As in, you want to be greedy, but not so stupid that you get caught by other people doing greedy stuff and get punished for it. So you're sort of, quote-unquote, enlightened. Is that what it means? So I don't think it's A, because that seems a bit, like, specific and almost closed-minded. I'm gonna go with B. And see the answer? C! that it is in organization's own interest to act in an ethical way. Wow, I did not expect that self-interest model. All right, we learned something, I guess. Let's do another one that doesn't involve blank. Which of the following organizational characteristics of small businesses tend to characterize their engagement with business-related issues? I read all this and I literally do not understand a single word that came out of it. What the hell does it mean? 3 following organizational characteristics of all. Okay, when I think of small businesses, kind of, I don't want to say unexperienced, more so there's just not much you can do. Like the scope is very narrow, right? You're not looking to expand well. You're sort of focusing on quality or the little things, basically. So size and complexity, definitely not that. Informal relationships, owner and family member influence on the organization, lack of organizational resources. Right, that makes sense. I think I'm going with C for now. Let's see the other ones. Right, because small businesses tend to be owned by like families, or so they're more likely to have everyone, having the same interest. So I don't think it's D either. I'm going with C, not because it's the best answer, but because it's the answer like I understand the most. I don't really get the other ones. So let's see the answer choice. Yay, C, it's correct. Okay, let's do another one, because I'm getting kind of tired of this. Moral scenarios, nutrition, philosophy. We can do philosophy. That's my thing, right? Let's do... According to Socrates, the task of the wise and virtuous person is not simply to learn various examples of just virtuous actions, but to learn the essence of justice or virtue, because... Okay, I'm gonna say something really offhand, but I kind of disagree with a lot of old philosophers. They really push their values in like a sort of meaningless... I don't want to say meaningless, but it's not... It doesn't mean anything. Like, well, what do you mean by virtuous? It's not foundational. The topics they talk about and the things they believe and discuss rarely ever mean anything outside of human convention, I guess. Okay, but throw that all out the window, because we're gonna follow what Socrates believes. To learn the essence... When they say essence, do they mean like everything about justice and virtue? Even the right and wrong. So we consider everything about justice and virtue, not just, oh, these are the good things and bad things to do, but oh, these good things or bad things are, and how they are perceived by like the people that judge them or the people that commit them. Is that what it means? Just everything about it as a collection, I guess. So let's see what the answers give. What makes an action just or virtuous can be known only by asking people for their opinions or respecting each answer as equally valuable. Sure, I agree with that as well, right? As in, virtuous or quote-unquote justice or virtuous actions are very subjective, right? It depends on context. Not just by whoever you're asking, but also it depends on the situation, right? Like classic trolley problem. Just throw that in. Why not? My initial answer before looking at the answer choices were to consider the whole, basically. Like context. Consider everything. So I guess C is probably the answer I would choose personally, but I don't think Socrates would choose that, because I think Socrates is mostly in a position of power, right? He's well respected among like his students or whatever. So I think he would choose an answer, or he would most likely believe an answer to this would be like one that would benefit the collective, like everyone, especially himself, right? As he has a lot of influence, basically. So I don't think it's C to him. I don't think to Socrates it's this answer. Knowledge of individual examples alone, I don't think it's B either, because it's kind of vague. It's kind of vague, basically. So I think the answer is D, according to Socrates. Of all human beings, the emphasis of all human beings. So let's see the answer. B, the answer is B. Knowledge of individual examples alone would not prepare. Alright, that makes sense. I agree with that. Bayer, is that how you pronounce the name? Bayer claims that ethical skepticism is often due to. There's like basically multiple opinions, multiple viewpoints on how things should go. Is that what it means? Confused metaphysical theories. That's like me. That's literally just me. I like that. I would choose A, but I don't think Bayer would choose metaphysical theories. So let's look at the other ones. Epistemological theories. What's that even mean? Epistem. What's an epistem? I have no idea what an epistem means. Because I don't think it's this. Because in my opinion, most religious views are kind of consolidated. As in, most of them believe in roughly the same stuff. If you look at the fundamental of their beliefs. Obviously, most religions believe that, killing people is bad and so on and so forth, right? So I don't think it's C either. For like disclaimer, I don't know who these people are, by the way. Like I never studied formal philosophy. I don't know the teachings of Socrates. I don't know the teachings of like I don't know, big philosophers, right? So I'm just kind of basing my choices on like my own opinions on how the world should be or how the world is. So yeah. I'm gonna choose A because I personally believe in it, but metaphysical theories, metaphysics is kind of goofy, so I'm gonna choose A. B, epistemological theories. I don't even know what that means. Like, should I search it up? I'm gonna search it up. Hold on. Theory of knowledge? What the hell? Nature, origin, and limits of knowledge. Okay, it makes sense. Facts, practical knowledge. Okay, this just discusses like how values interact with each other. Aquinas claims that all human operations appear to serve oneself or the whole. Okay, those in power. It's kind of misleading, but I agree with it in some way. In some way, those of high status. Isn't that the same thing? Whatever. Those who contemplate the truth. Those who act wickedly. In what context does wickedly even mean in discussion? Like, what the hell? I don't want to sound... Okay, I don't... No offense to whoever this is, but they're a philosopher, right? They would like to think, hey, the stuff I think about is more important or at least, like, worth considering compared to others. So I'm immediately gravitating towards C. I'm gonna go with C, because, truth, philosophy, contemplation. Yeah, it's correct, C. Next one. Butler claims that, strictly speaking, the only thing that anyone has a right to is life, liberty, property, happiness. What is my answer to this? When you say the only thing that anyone has a right to, do you mean like it's a right that needs to be guaranteed and needs to exist universally? Not as some decision made by a higher order, but as like part of existence itself. Like it's just there. Not because we enforce it, but because it just exists on its own. I guess life would be the best answer, in my opinion, right? Life is not something you physically enforce, more so as a happenstance, right? It just happens. So, that's my personal answer, but I don't think Butler would claim that. I don't know. Liberty, freedom, it's kind of hard to say, right? Would you say that everyone deserves freedom? It's definitely not true. Like, if I want true liberty, I would say I want to be able to fly. But that's not possible, right? I don't have the quote-unquote right to that. I can't enforce it, nor does it exist as like a fundamental right that everyone has. So I don't think it's liberty. Maybe Butler would think of that, but I don't like it. Property. When I think of property, I think of like you technically don't own everything around you, as in, oh, I have a computer. It's not that I have a computer, more so that I and many other people agree that this computer belongs to me. Nor is the computer itself like physically a part of my body or a part of my mind. So would they claim that property is a right to have? I don't know. I guess like I don't want to sound too morbid, but if you would say don't have legs or arms, you would probably not be able to claim something as your property. Say I can't go to Mount Everest to claim Mount Everest as my property because I physically cannot travel there. Like it's not a freedom I have right now. Happiness. Well, I don't think that's the case. Like you know why. So I guess life would be the best answer. Let's see what he believes. D. Happiness. Wow, happiness is the only thing that anyone has a right to. How would I interpret that? Happiness. It's like I guess dependent on interactions with yourself and everything around you, right? Like it's not just something that you can have forever. It's gonna fluctuate up and down. You're gonna feel sad. You're gonna feel happiness. I'm not saying that it's impossible to feel happiness forever until the day you die. I'm sure that's possible, but it's just really inconvenient. Maybe Butler claims that, like, living has its ups and downs. You're gonna experience a lot of bad stuff, so everyone should have the right to at least experience some of the happiness, right? For some period of time, not forever, obviously. I can get behind that. I can agree with that. Alright, let's do one more philosophy question. I don't even know how to pronounce his name. Epictetus? Epictetus? How do you pronounce his name? Editor, put on how you pronounce his name. We refrain from... Let's look at the answer choices. Laughing without restraint. This is so specific. What? Laughing without restraint. What does that even mean? Maybe this person was just so sick and tired of people in his hall laughing without restraint. Is it just like manners, like etiquette? Casually going to lectures. What? What do you mean? I thought like back then going to lectures as a luxury would be a good thing. Right? Going to lectures not just so you can learn stuff, but also to interact with other people. That's kind of stupid, no? I disagree with that a lot. Having sex before marriage. This could be the answer for all I know. All of the above. I'm gonna choose D because it's so funny. I disagree with all of these vehemently. People should laugh without restraint. I mean, there's people killing each other on the streets. I think this is like a thing that we should allow. Not because of people killing each other on the streets, but because I want to have the freedom to laugh without restraint. Again, this is stupid, right? People should have the ability to go to lectures, not just because of learning, but because different people offer their opinions and views on things, and I guess that matters in some way. I think that should be considered having sex before marriage. I guess just tradition. It's just old people doing old people things. Like, I don't agree with it, but, whatever. All of the above. That's my final answer. Let's look at the answer. D. Lamau. Look at that. Always choose all of the above. These are really old values, outdated values even, that should not be considered in the modern day. I disagree with these a lot. We can do professional psychology. That'd be kind of fun. Let's do that. Which of the following statements expresses a relationship between aging and sexual functioning? Isn't this a question on psychology? Why is it about... This sounds more like a question for physiology. I guess it means as you age, you probably don't get the chance to do this stuff anymore. Or it could be that as you age, you just lose the ability to feel this stuff. So let's look at the answer choices. Aging is related to an increase in vaginal lubrication. What? Is that true? What? I kind of want to say it's not true. Not because I have a vagina myself, but because it would make sense for this stuff to be at its like peak at like age 20 or 30, right? At the point when adults become adults, right? So 26 years old, 30 years old. When you say when I interpreted this question as in like you get older, as in like 70, 60 years old, not like developing from a teenager to like an adult, for example. So let's look at the other ones. Aging is associated with an increase in the frequency and number of orgasmic contractions in both sexes. Is this a psychology question or a physiology question? What the hell? There is no significant relationship between aging and sexual responses in either sex. I kind of disagree with that. I mean, you don't see like as you age, like when you're 40 or 50 years old, you probably lose a lot of your libido. Is that true? I'm not sure. Aging is related to some loss of erectile rigidity. Alright, that makes sense. I think these are the best, like the most safe option, if that. But it's a psychology question. How does it have to do with psychology? I'm gonna say it's D. Not because C is wrong. I could be right for all I know. I'm gonna go with D because it's the only one I understand. So let's see the answer. Right, D makes sense, right? A family therapist using the structural approach of Salvador, I don't know how to pronounce that, would most likely, what even is this? Using a structural approach of this. I'm assuming this is like some sort of psychological model to like give therapy sessions. Let's look at the answers. Enmeshment. Wow, look at that word. Enmeshment. Add that to that's the word of the day. Enmeshment. Use a multiple therapist team to prevent any one therapist from becoming triangulated into the family system. This seems so specific. Why is this so specific? What the hell is this? D seems like the most vague and general answer. I'm probably going with D as the safe choice. So A seems like a pretty okay choice to take here. Like D is the safe choice, but C is the funny option. So I'm gonna choose C. So let's see what the answer is. The answer is A. Wow. Clarify boundaries. Oh wow. My guess was completely wrong there. When isn't used the one-way ANOVA? What is this? Parametric tests. Parametric as in parameters, like specific sliders you set to collect data. Is that what you mean? Instead of collecting data as a collective whole, you consider it as like its constituent parameters. Is that what it means? One IV or 1, 5 and means more than 2 groups. Whoa, okay, what the hell is this? I thought it meant TV for a second. It's like, 1 TV? I'm gonna choose the first one because I don't really know what this means. One-way ANOVA, right? 1 IV. That makes sense. Let's see what the answer is. A. Yeah, the answer is A. That's more of a guess than, me rationalizing, but whatever. A child diagnosed with conduct disorder cannot receive an additional diagnosis of... Whoa! Oppositional defiant disorder. A child diagnosed with conduct disorder. I'm assuming this means bad behavior and... Okay, how does ADHD have anything to do with conduct disorder? So I don't think it's ADHD. Rett's disorder. I don't think it's that either. Usually when they give names to disorders, it's usually very rare. Rare enough that this specific disorder deserves a name of like the first person to ever get it diagnosed. So I don't think it's Rett's disorder either. Because I don't, how's that have anything to do with conduct disorder? Conduct disorder, oppositional defiant disorder, Asperger's syndrome? What? I'm gonna go with C because I have no idea what what the other ones really mean. Say if you're someone that okay, not someone that does it, but take someone that it's not very well behaved and does a lot of bad stuff. I'm guessing it doesn't make sense in my opinion to not be able to give them an additional diagnosis, but let's see what the answer says. I think it's C. Yeah, the answer was C. Your consultant asked to design an intervention program recently housing project where antagonism and hostility between the old and new residents are extremely high. Okay, the ability to relations contact with interaction, Just show that they're not too different as humans. Maybe that's my approach. So let's see what the answer is. It's rather casual and superficial, thus providing a warm-up phase. I feel like humans are really good at detecting, BS approaches or BS settings. If everyone's acting fake, we can tell basically. I think C seems like a It sounds good on paper, but in practice, it could probably lead to more hostility. So probably don't do that. For each group of residents, the code is confirmed negative traits. So that could work. I think D is the safe option here. The other three seems like a good way to make things worse. I don't know if D works well, but I'm choosing D. Not because it's the best option, but because the other option seems like they were not the best ones. Let's see the answer. D. Yeah, the answer was D. So far, these questions aren't really challenging. More so, they're really field specific. You just gotta know to know, basically. Conceptual physics. What even is this? Seems really hard. Alright, let's see. Among these colors, the one that has the most energy per photon is... I don't know, like red seems like... What's the wavelength of a red light? I don't know. Okay, let's see the answer. D, violet. That makes sense. It's called ultraviolet light for a reason, right? Next one. Blinking light source approaching you gains speed. You see the frequency of flashes. I guess it would increase, right? Or would it remain unchanged? Because practically, the time scales we're talking about here are so small that you would not detect it at all. As, like, to a human. Right? Because, like, the closer it is to you, like, the less time it takes for light to, like, hit your eyes. So I'm going to choose A. Let's look at the answer. A. Right, makes sense. Increase. Temperature is generally proportional to a substance's... So let's look at the answers. Average translational kinetic energy, rotational kinetic energy. What does that even mean? I don't think it's D. What does rotation have anything to do with it? Do we talk about temperature as it is detected by an external source? If that's the case, it would make sense for average translational kinetic energy to play. Translational kinetic energy, to me, means the energy that is transferred to another source as like a wave. So the total amount of quote-unquote thermal energy that exists in a source is not the same, not the exact same as the temperature that is like, or that can be detected by like another source. So I kind of like that, so I'm gonna choose that for now. Let's look at the other ones. Thermal energy. What does it even mean? Thermal energy to me doesn't mean anything. Like it's so vague. What do you mean by thermal energy? I don't know about that. I'm kind of making a bunch of guesses here. I'm gonna go with C. Yay! C! I was right! Look at that! Put a saucer of water on your table. A process that then occurs is... Saucer as in like a flying saucer, like an alien. My initial thought is that it would immediately interact with the environment around it. So, right. It would immediately evaporate. How would it condense? I'm gonna go with evaporation, because, you know, it's simple, right? Condensation where? Like, say you have a really, really big room, the water that is on the table evaporates, it would definitely take some time to condense, right? In some other source. C, both. Oh, wow. Condensation occurs. Huh. Let's do one last one, because my voice kind of hurts now from all the talking. Black is the combination of... all the colors together? You mean as in like additive mixing of colors? You know how if you mix a bunch of colors together, they start turning black? I know it's like the absence of light. It would make sense for none of these to be the case. Black, like true black, would mean literally the absence of light. Like your eyes do not detect any wavelengths, basically. There's literally no input. Or do you mean black as in like the pigment black? Where there's still a tiny little bit of information going to your brain or like getting into your eyes, but not enough to like constitute a whole color in and of itself. I kind of like all the colors, but since this is like a conceptual physics question, I'm gonna go with D. Yeah, the answer is D. If this was like a question on like art, I would go with A. Right, that's it. Obviously, don't take any word I say too seriously. Like, you know, I have no qualifications on what I say, basically. You know, do your own research, form your own opinions, form your own thinking. Alright, 3, 2, 1, cut.